everybody, I'm Danny Otto. Welcome into an all-new episode of That Recap Show. Now, before we get into the episode, just wanted to say, major spoiler alert, we are going to be going over everything that happened in Season 3, Episodes 10 and 11 of The Bad Batch. So if you haven't watched those episodes yet, you may want to pause this video, head over to Disney Plus, watch both of those episodes, and then come back and enjoy the breakdown. Now, with that out of the way, let's start the show.
Poppin' Off presents That Recap Show.
All right, joining with me to break down everything from Season 3, Episodes 10 and 11 of The Bad Batch, it's Jon Jon Rico!
Hello.
Hello!
What's going on?
I almost went into the X-Men 97 theme song. I was like, it's Wednesday! It's Wednesday!
Yeah. It's same day, but it's just, it's just a lot to get to.
So much content to get to. It's good to be recapping things. We're in a very good time of the year. We've got all this other stuff to look at and have fun with. We got to start going back and rewatching all the live action X-Men stuff to lead up to Deadpool.
A lot to get to, yeah.
Oh, man, we have so much to get to. Anyway, Bad Batch. We got the two-parter we've been talking about getting. Look, first off, I have to appreciate the release schedule of this because, we'll get a couple of single release weeks and then we'll get another two-parter. And it just feels nice. To be like, oh, I finished this episode. Oh, I got another episode. Like, it's just kind of like a nice little extra treat. But this, just like we've done in the past when we've had, two episodes to kind of recap, we're going to do our quick thoughts from episode 10, then our takeaways from episode 10, quick thoughts from episode 11, takeaways from episode 11, and then predictions moving forward. So to kick things off, episode 10, I gotta say, and I know I've said this in the past already for this season, I really appreciate their ability to juggle not only multiple characters, but multiple, storylines that are happening kind of at the same time with different groups. And this is kind of an example of that. The episode 10 is an example of that because we just get to see, no Bad Batches in this at all. It's all like the Empire side. Basically, it's Hemlock, it's Dr. Carr. Like, we get all of that side, and it really demonstrates how well they're able to kind of, not keep track of, but like juggle and be able to have all of these different things happening at the same time, and to be able to still give time to everything and to let everything kind of naturally progress. And I really appreciate about this series, like just as a whole in general, whether it's happening, half of an episode and the other half of the episode they go back to another group of people, or whether it's happening in one episode and the flip side is in the next episode, kind of like in this situation. But that was the biggest thing I wanted to point out, is I just really appreciated kind of, getting a full episode on the other side of things, the Empire, I guess, side of things. And yeah, I'm just, it's a solid episode. I have a lot of stuff I want to talk about from this episode, but just in general, I enjoy their ability to kind of progress the story on all fronts at the same time, kind of. But Rico, what were some of your quick takes from episode 10?
Yeah, I really enjoyed this particular episode. It was a good start. I had the same reaction as you after this episode, and I looked at, when Disney Plus has like the little, coming up next thing, and it's usually like either another show or the next episode. But there's another episode here. I always forget there's a two-parter, even when I look ahead of when the next two-parters are. So I was like pleasantly surprised, like, oh yeah, I got another one to watch too, because I really love that this was like a character story-driven episode. We got a lot of information as far as like what exactly Hemlock needed Omega for, as far as like Project Necromancer, like especially because we get a look at like the fact that they already have other like force sensitive children in there. We have high, kids with high M counts, and but there's something needed in the science when it comes to Omega's blood that she's particularly needed. Like there's like a certain like compounding agent within her blood that's needed. I think it's really cool when they really deep dive into the science of like what they're actually doing. And I also love the scene between him and Tarkin because I just love it. First of all, I love me a good Tarkin cameo because that dude is just like a little weasel throughout the whole empire, like trying to find things like these different projects throughout the empire that he can just kind of like take credit for. It worked for him with the Death Star, but it's just funny that anytime we see him interacting with any other like empire officers that are like near his level, it's like him kind of sniffing around, like, "Hey, what you got going on over there? Like, can I get my hands on it?" Kind of a deal. Like, so I just enjoyed that part. But yeah, this episode really reminded me a lot of the season premiere. When we got like this whole episode on Tantis, just like this one, and it focused on one particular character and kind of like what her routine was, and then in this particular case, it became it's about Emery and kind of like her new role is kind of like heading Project Necromancer, the way she was able to get that role, and then kind of like dealing what she's dealing with inside there. So I thought that was really cool. And we just got a lot of great character work with that specific character, and it was really cool to watch.
Yeah, and dare we say it, Omega is the chosen one.
You are the chosen one.
Anyway, yeah, I really did appreciate that we finally found out what was in the vault. The only thing I could think of though, while Hemlock was first bringing her into the vault, is how much anxiety I would have walking into the vault every single day with the laser grids that disappear right before you can walk through and then restart like right after you've gone to the next one type of thing. Like I'm just like, you're gonna singe the back of my head off. Like, just, you know what I mean? Like I would just have walking down that entrance every single time you have to go in and out of the vault, which just my anxiety would have been through the roof type of thing.
One of the things I liked about that though is that we also kind of learned that like that area behind that like kind of secret area, the locked doors and the beams and all that, it's a lot bigger than we kind of just did, because before we saw it and it was him bringing the Emperor, and then we saw those like the scientific tubes and all that. But here we also see there's like a whole like holding cell for force sensitive experiments as well. So you're just like, dang, how big is this whole like kind of research area they're doing, and like what other experiments are going on in there?
Yeah, absolutely. Like there's the observation area and everything up top, and there's a lot. It's a big thing. Do you want to get to some episode 10 takeaways?
Sure.
Awesome. All right, why don't you kick off takeaways?
Okay, so one of the things I was really happy to see was one of my favorite characters, especially in the animated Star Wars, but in all of Star Wars in general, is we got Cad Bane back. And I started hearing the take was like, of course, Cad Bane is like one of the bounty hunters that they're talking about that's collecting these like kind of class 1 bounties on M count targets, and it's like he's a guy that's like, in the past, that's pretty much how we were introduced to him, is how he was able to infiltrate the Jedi Temple and kind of use things to his. So we know that he's just got that special. One, he's got like a line to the Emperor, because that was a job he did for the Emperor back in the Clone Wars, and so it makes a lot of sense that he would go to Cad Bane to be like, "Hey, I need you to find some Force sensitive children and bring them to me." And of course, like Cad's like, "Hey, you're gonna pay me the money? Like, give it to me." And of course, that I really hate that neighbor of the poor mom and the baby who Cad Bane gets the child from at the in the beginning of the first episode. But I really love seeing him in any kind of Star Wars content. We haven't seen him since I think season 1 when it comes to the actual show. And of course we saw him later on the timeline in Book of Boba Fett in live action. What that was really great too. Yep. But I love that there's so much room within like this timeline that we can still sprinkle him in different areas. So I particularly enjoyed that a lot.
Yeah, I was excited to see who was going to come up. You know what I mean? Like obviously once we started hearing the jingling, like knew that's who they were going with, but I was like, it could be anybody. Like that was kind of the exciting part. But yeah, I mean, I enjoyed, seeing Cad Bane. I know he's one of your favorite guys. I gotta say, like, my biggest takeaway from episode 10 was seeing Dr. Carr, like seeing her, you had already kind of brought this up a long time ago in that she would fit on the Bad Batch team as kind of a fill-in for Tech, or at least, you know, just a taking over that persona, I guess.
Yeah.
But we never really got this, like, any kind of hinting at if she was ever going to really, you know, have a change of heart, or if she was just like, you know, not a bad person, but like just doing her job as a scientist type of person. But you can very quickly see, after she figures out like what this project is all about and how they're treating the force sensitive or
Kids,
the high M count children, and even the baby that kind of comes at the very towards the very end of the episode, that she's already got that change of heart. It's only a matter of time before, like, you know, she figures out a way to, like, I guess Omega's coming back and she's gonna figure out a plan with Omega or something like that. Like, you know what I mean? Like this, you can obviously see that she's a decent person, because
she's not cruel.
Right. And so, like, there's definitely, like, I liked seeing that change of heart character development in her, because, you know, we kind of had hints at it. Like, she was never mean to Omega, but you know what I mean? Like,
she looked after her,
but she didn't let her escape. Like, you know what I mean? Like, she was trying to, I just have to do my job type of thing, like that kind of attitude. And now I feel like after all of this, after the events of episode 10, she's definitely, a shift has definitely happened. It's not, I'm just doing my job. It's, holy shit, what is the Empire doing with these children now? You know what I mean? Like, so there's definitely going to be, she's definitely being pulled to the side of the Bad Batch at this point. Like, though that's going to align at some point. So now I'm in that camp where, like, I could see her, you know, coming up with a plan with Omega once Omega gets back there, type of thing, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. For sure.
Yeah. So anyway, you want to get to some quick thoughts for episode 11?
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. All right. So, you know, I
just, yeah. Whew.
So much happened in this episode. And before we get before we get into absolutely everything that happened in this, I was left with a question. As soon as the dust clears, like, my biggest thing, and I actually said this out loud during the beginning of this episode, how is everybody sneaking and parking spaceships in the same damn cave?
Yeah, when he pulls into that, I was like, isn't that the same cave that the Venture snuck in through? And I was like, they didn't like put a guard over there or something like that. Like, just I would just check there once a day just to be sure.
A sensor in there? I don't know anything. Like, I'm willing to.
I guess that's where Tech would have been handy or something.
I guess, but, like, I feel like any of them should have the oversight to be like, hey, this cave is, like, perfect for, like, people to sneak into and park. Like, we should, you know, monitor this with something, anything.
Yeah, pretty well.
But yeah, I don't want to get too far into some of the stuff that we're going to talk about and takeaways and predictions and stuff, but that was just like, I asked that question out loud while watching episode 11. But Rico, what were some of your quick thoughts from this episode?
Yeah, well, compared to like kind of the slower pace, I would say story character driven episode of the episode before it, this is where, you know, they just completely, you know, if you were missing the action in that, so you definitely got it in this episode for sure. I think that's partial. I'm pretty sure that's why they made it a 2-parter, is because they knew they wanted to get a lot of that really interesting story and exposition stuff out in that first episode, so that we can really dive into like this the meat. You would say for some people is like the real meat of the episode here, which is like that whole sequence on Pabu, and I gotta say, like, so much for that happy life on Pabu scenario that I thought was gonna happen at the end of the series. The things go to hell real fast, and it's just not good. And it's a pretty brutal thing to watch, because like yeah, we're just so used to seeing everything work out in the end. This is definitely not one of those cases.
Yeah, absolutely. You want to get to some big takeaways?
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Why don't you kick off big takeaways again? I'm definitely going to be kicking off predictions, but why don't you get us into takeaways?
Okay, so I got a couple things here. One of the first things that I really love about this show is the overall character growth of Omega throughout the whole series. Seeing her going from like this little girl who only knew this life on Camino and being kind of afraid of any little bit of danger that kind of came at her, to kind of being the one who's now being like stepping into the forefront of danger, as like just kind of like she's a young woman now. She's not a little girl. She's a young woman. And you know, again, she's just facing things head on. I really like that scene between her and Crosshair when everything is going to shit, and she's just like, no, like the only way this stops is if I give myself up. So it's like the one place she never wanted to go back to, she's going back to willingly, and I think that's pretty awesome for her character to kind of see that when you watch especially the early stuff from the episodes, just kind of seeing like, you know, everything that she's learned since then, she's taken in, and it's become part of her character. And I especially love the ending scene of her just kind of sitting on the ship and just doing what Gunji told her, just kind of sitting there and breathing, which could probably have some big implications, I would imagine, later on. So I love that. And but let me tell you, like I was saying this before in the opening summary, of like kind of seeing everything just like not work out for everybody was just really rough. Like a Wrecker just being taken out immediately when he's known for being super durable and just kind of like rolling through you know, kind of the minions really easily. And then of course Hunter's plan kind of immediately failing on him when he tries to get to the ship, and then of course the Shadow Op is just like, nope, not gonna happen. I'm taking out that ship. I was like, dang, first of all, the way they write all this stuff is really great, but the one moment that really got me is, you know, of course, Omega and Crosshair kind of developed this plan, like, of course, like I'll bring my tracker, but you know, they're obviously going to take it. But if that's like, you shoot one of yours on their ship, and right when he's about to do it, he gets attacked by two stormtroopers, and it gives them just enough time to kind of like stop him from being able to fire up the shot in time. And let me tell you, like watching him fire off the tracker and it just barely miss was just like a real gut-wrenching moment. You're just like, oh, he's got it, and then like oh, it's just like, no, it doesn't happen. Just like it's you feel the loss there on all sides. And now also they have no ship. The Marauder's gone, which is pretty crazy. Like just out of nowhere, I think that's what always makes these moments a little bit more devastating, is when you lose something that's been such a part of the show, like in an instant, like in Mandalorian when his ship
I was just about to, I was just about to talk about that.
Like all of a sudden, boom, the ship's gone, and like that was their home. Like then they haven't. Luckily, they got kind of like the big sentimental pieces out of the home before they could. But like everything just got flipped on their end. And it's just like, now what do we got to do now to kind of rebuild it and get back at it now? It's full speed ahead now at this point.
Yeah, Crosshair fell victim to bullet drop. Just like we all do in Fortnite now.
Yeah, first thing.
That's what I yelled out when I saw it, like arc wrong, and I was like,
that bullet drop.
Bullet drop.
Battlefield really set me up for that disappointment too.
But anyway, yeah, I mean, pretty much exactly, like, going off of your big takeaway, like, we knew this was gonna happen. We knew at some point that other shoe was gonna drop and all hell was gonna break loose.
Mm-hmm.
And it happened so damn fast. Like,
yeah.
So fast. And look, I appreciate how every single person tried and failed in their own right. Like, that Shadow Op gave no fucks. He was just like, cool, I'm gonna kill one of my own guys just so that I can thwart Hunter's plan.
Hunter,
yeah, like that was just insane. He was just like, cool, boom, like and then Wrecker saving the droid. Like,
Skonky. Yeah,
that was his undoing. I mean, not undoing. He still survived, but I'm sure he would have been able to jump, jump further away if he wasn't like trying to grab a droid and jump at the same time. But yeah, I mean, wow. I actually, for a second, really thought that was going to be, you know, I've already talked about it in the past, where there was going to be that moment where Crosshair was going to have to, you know, actually hit line up a shot, and it was going to be that moment where he was going to break through mentally, like break that mental barrier that he was having. I thought that was going to be the moment. I really thought that was going to be the moment until I saw it go like this, and I was like, nope, that's not going to do it. Like,
no, we still got a little ways to go for it. Yeah, it's good. It's gonna make it feel even more earned now because he saw him miss that shot. Right, he saw him missing a really important shot that really mattered to him too, and I think that's going to get to his head.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm wondering how everyone's going to take it, because, like, you know, I know that after the last episode, or I guess last week's episode, not the last episode, episode 9, basically. You know, we have the Bad Batch, kind of the core working together. They were working together against Ventress. But I'm wondering if this is gonna, start arguments and fights again because Omega turned herself over on Crosshair's watch. So like there could still be that doubt in the back of their minds, like, is he a double agent still ish type of thing? Like she's gone because he let her go type of thing. So I'm wondering if that's gonna be something that like Hunter's gonna say or something like that. Not sure, but it was just a thought that crossed my mind of like nobody else really saw that Omega was like, this is the only way we can do this. So it's basically Crosshair's word that like, no, this is what Omega said. So I'm wondering if that's gonna, moving forward, if that's gonna play into like some troubles that they have to get over moving forward. But you want to get to some predictions?
Yeah, let's do it.
Awesome. All right, I'm gonna kick off predictions because I feel like this went perfectly in to what we were talking about. Like this was an awesome cliffhanger. Like I absolutely love that we got, two-parter, and then the second part was the cliffhanger. Like, you know what I mean? Like, we still have next week to look forward to. It's not like, oh, we had the cliffhanger in episode 10, and then we got the resolve in episode 11. We've got a giant cliffhanger moving forward. We have, the Bad Batch is hurt. Everyone's hurt individually. Not only that, but like just in general as a team, they're hurt. Omega's captured with no tracker. Like, that plan failed instantly. Good plan, horrible execution on that plan. So like the team not only and no ship, just like you noted. So like we got to get a ship, we got to get the team back together, we got to get hopefully Echo and Rex back to like to help them type of thing. Like we got to find out where Tantus is. Like there's so much that they have to do in a short period of time to like really be on the hunt for Omega and to get her back and everything like that. Like there is a lot to I guess climb back after that major low that we just got from this. So I love that kind of cliffhanger. It's just like it's like Empire Strikes Back type of cliffhanger. Like
the enemy wins, and you got to see how the heroes are going to kind of climb their way back for the ultimate victory, which is really a Star Wars staple of storytelling.
Exactly. That's why it feels so nice and everything like that. But anyway, what I did have a question that I wanted to pose towards you, and full transparency, I've already spoken to Rico about this question, so it's not a surprise. But I just wanted to ask, do you think we've been given enough small breadcrumbs at this point to start leaning into the theory that the Shadow Ops' true identity is tech?
Oh, I think we're beginning more than small breadcrumbs. I think we would give some pretty big crumbs. Yeah, I think we're definitely getting a lot of signs of the Shadow Op being tech. First of all, they won't stop mentioning tech. Like they don't want us to forget about him as a character. Like if a character dies and it's something they move, like you would mourn and find a way to still like get over, but like get past and find a way to move on. Like if the character wasn't going to come back in some way, but because like all these little like kind of hints and references to him keep popping up, like they want the viewer to still remember him.
Like the
and there's been first of all, there's just a lot of focus on this one Shadow Op compared to other like kind of like characters that you kind of see like that, where they're kind of like maskless or faceless characters who are just kind of known for being really violent and savvy. So like there's going to be a big payoff with that, I would just imagine. But some of the big kind of like crumbs I thought in this particular episode were first off in the scene where he gets the intel from Fee's ship. But I found it one interesting that he did it in a way where like there would be no harm to Fee in any way. The way to like if she was away from her ship that she can go in and steal it, where he could easily like kind of like infiltrated the ship or even like assaulted the ship and like found a way on board and like got strong arm the information out of her. Even though she is a pirate, she probably wouldn't have given it up. But I think it has to do with the fact that Tech and Fee had that relationship in the past. So like there's still something inside. If the Shadow Op is Tech, of course, there's something in his brain that is telling him not to like hurt her. Of course, like just try and get it as clean as you can without them knowing, which is what he does. And then of course the fact that they managed to get Tech's goggles off of the ship and leave him on Papu before the whole the attack happens, I think is a nice little indicator that, like, of course, hey, look, another red first attack. And if his goggles are somewhere that aren't on a blown up ship, they're right there where you can get them again. So I think that's something like we could possibly see. And something I was thinking of before we started recording, I was thinking about like the certain, like, the vocal cadences of each of the Bad Batch, and Crosshairs and Tech kind of are like similar in like the way that their voices sound. Like there's obviously Crosshairs is kind of like a little bit more drawn out, kind of sounds a little bit more. I would say he gets like more like Snape to me. But when I hear the Shadow Wap clone speak, it kind of sounds a little bit like Crosshairs, which makes me think that it could also be Tech, because it could just be Tech talking in a different way that's similar to Crosshair. Now that he's just kind of like this different version of himself. So yeah, I think there's definitely a lot of hints that there's gonna be this big reveal of the Shadow Wap being Tech at some point, for sure. Another thing is I love that we're getting like this setup of again, Dr. Card just kind of like being someone that's going to be an ally to Omega when she gets to Untantis, essentially, like not just like a we don't know if you're an ally, but like a full blown ally. Because one of the things I was thinking of, and I think I was watching Star Wars Explained or New Rockstars. One of them was talking about her, like she could be a victim of Stockholm syndrome, where like she's been a prisoner since she was younger, because of course she's a clone. She could age quicker, so like there's a good chance that there's this whole story with her earlier in her life that we don't know about, and she's just essentially become like really used to being a victim or not a victim, a hostage essentially, and she's just there doing her duty. So that's where we see like that little conflict in there, where she's like, I gotta do what I'm supposed to do, but also like I kind of care about you at the same time. So I think there's a lot of stuff that's going to lead to eventually her betraying Hemlock has to happen. I think like they're going to need all the help they're going to get on the inside as well as the outside. So yeah, there's this whole thing of like, the clones all going to come together essentially. There's got to be a few bad clones that might have to get got in the long run, but I'm looking at Scorch. But any other clone that we kind of grown some kind of attachment to, I think is going to have to help out in some way.
Oh yeah, absolutely agree. I definitely think there's going to be like I mean, I was saying that originally. I was like, she's definitely going to factor into any plan moving forward that Omega is going to have type of thing, about like, let's get everyone out of here that shouldn't be here.
Yeah,
type of thing.
Especially the kids.
Yeah, exactly.
The kids will be especially a big thing for her, and it could be like her last deed, because if we're talking about characters that could possibly like not make it, a character betraying the Empire like that and doing something big is probably not going to live just to see the outcome, especially if they're under somebody like Hemlock.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm wondering, what's going to end up happening with Hemlock, because, as much as we have like this pocket of time, like where else do we have him popping up? Like if he actually was to rise to be a big villain, he would be somewhere else type of thing. And so we don't really have too much longer that he's going to be able to exist.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So like there might be some kind of big showdown with Hemlock at some point too. So we don't know who's going to make it out alive on this one.
Yeah, exactly.
There are no wrong answers. So, but as we always say, that's what we think. Let us know in the comments below. What did you think of episode 10 and 11? And what do you think is going to happen moving forward? How the race is on to save Omega at this point. What is the first thing? There are no wrong answers. Are we getting the entire group back together? Are we going to see Echo and Rex? Like, we got to get a ship. There's so many things. Anyway, and as always, don't forget, like, subscribe, and turn on notifications to hear about all of our latest audio and video podcast releases. Bye, everybody!
Popping Off presents That Recap Show.